I'm so sick of thinking that we're good and everything's going to be fine and we're going to end up together to just say, nope, we're going to get divorced.
Yeah. It always seems to come back to that, which is a shame.
During COVID, things got really difficult for us, and I really contemplated divorce. I feel like I'm at a breaking point.
So the first episode of season 3 90 Day Fiancé Diaries has just dropped, and here's what we learnt. Kalani and Asuelu's relationship is not in a good place. In fact, it seems like they're on the brink of divorce, and shockingly, if Kalani's to be believed, Asuelu might be a dangerous father.
How many times have my kids almost died when you're around?
Now, I'll come to all the shocking revelations shortly, but first, a quick recap from the last time we saw them. As you probably remember, the last time they were on our screens on Happily Ever After, their relationship was far from perfect, but it seemed like there was a glimmer of hope for them. Asuelu seemed to be taking on board some of Kalani's criticism, and it looked like he was willing to help out a bit more, communicate a bit better, and put his family first, even if that meant kicking his mum and sister out of his house.
You guys are trouble! No! You see!
Hey, what the hell?
Get out of my house!
But on the very last episode of the season, Kalani's mum dropped a bombshell. The house that Kalani and Asuelu were living in rent-free, which belonged to Kalani's parents, was going to be put up for sale, and Kalani's mum was going to move back to California.
So we are going to be selling the house.
It's just really hard.
Like, we don't really have the money. We're not really that stable in our relationship. And my parents do so much for the kids right now. So this is just horrible timing.
And so that now brings us to the present day. On the first episode of Diaries, we learn that while Kalani and Asuelu are still living in that same house, Kalani's mum has moved to California. That's meant Kalani no longer has her support network around her. When Kalani's mum comes to visit, her first visit in over 2 months, she sits down to have a catch up with her daughter, and Kalani reveals she's finding it really tough.
Having my mom move away, it kind of has put a lot of pressure on us to get out of Utah as soon as possible. I think both of us would be happier in California. There's just nothing here for either of us anymore. I want to go to California so desperately because my friends and family are there. Right. So I can actually be like, oh, you're going golfing? Okay, I'm going to lunch with so-and-so.
Right.
Oh, let's go on a date. Blah, 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 can watch the kids.
Right.
I have no one here.
Right.
It seems like Asuelu isn't really pulling his weight. Now, we'll come back to that shortly because that's a huge issue right there. But one thing that Kalani does mention is she's almost resentful of the fact Asuelu's still enjoying his downtime, his freedom, he's out and about doing things that he wants to do, while she's stuck at home having to look after Oliver and Kennedy by herself.
At the moment, I like being a stay-at-home mom, but in the future, I would like to do other things and not just be home all the time. Asuelu has golf and the things that he enjoys to do by himself, and I don't have any of those things.
So, with her mum finally around to help out, Kalani seizes on that opportunity to have her mum look after the kids while she and Asuelu sit down to discuss the future of their relationship.
Between me and you,
What?
how do you think things have been going?
Good?
You think so?
Yeah?
I don't think we're doing very well at all. I think you feel good because you get to get out of the house and you get quiet time and you get free time. When my mom's gone, I don't get that.
It becomes clear that she feels hard done by. She doesn't think things are fair, and that's not just to do with the freedom or lack of it. It's also down to the fact that she feels Asuelu isn't helping out.
I thought we were gonna move to California as soon as possible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that has to be done before we do that. Stuff that I can't do by myself. I would have had it done a long time ago if I would have had help.
Yet again, we see that their communication just isn't where it should be. Like, Asuelu has no idea why they haven't moved to California yet, but more than that, he seems to be completely caught off guard and totally oblivious to Kalani's feelings and the problems with his relationship.
I'm really surprised that she bring this up. Like, all the thing I hear is just, it makes me like I'm a bad husband, I'm a bad father, but No, I'm not.
Now, here's my thoughts on that, and please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but I think both parties are at fault here. Asuelu's clearly tone deaf, he doesn't understand how his wife's feeling. But Kalani, by her own admission, hasn't had a proper conversation with him in 2 months, and I'm not buying the excuse that she just hasn't had any free time at all.
Asuelu and I really haven't been able to have any serious conversations in the last 2 months because someone's screaming or pooping or crying.
I know that she's got 2 young kids, but not even 10 minutes to pull him aside? I mean, come on, we all know what Asuelu's like. He's a man-child, he needs some direction. If there's ever anyone who needs clear communication, it's Asuelu, right? Even after their chat, he still seems confused. He doesn't actually appreciate he's not giving Kalani the support that she needs. He feels like he has given up his freedom.
I go play golf. You don't like me go play volleyball, so I play golf. And I go early and come back home.
Isn't that enough for you, Kalani? What more do you want, lady? He doesn't even play volleyball anymore. Poor Asuelu. But no, seriously, I think communication is a huge issue between the two of them. But there is something even more concerning. As the conversation progresses, it becomes very clear that Kalani doesn't have faith in Asuelu's parenting skills. She literally doesn't trust him. When Asuelu tells Kalani that he feels like he tries but she just shoots him down all the time, Kalani reveals that she doesn't even trust him to keep her kids safe.
So I don't really like to sound with your kids because you're like, no.
When I watch you watch them, something bad usually happens. So for you to take Oliver by yourself in the car, that's scary to me. And how many times have my kids almost died when you're around?
That is a huge accusation to make. Not communicating, not helping out, well, that's one thing, but literally putting your kid's life at risk? Well, that's as serious as it gets.
Now you're blaming me down, you're not blaming me.
Am I blaming you or am I saying the actual actions of what has happened? Did Kennedy get loose in the parking lot at the pumpkin patch? Did I see you chasing him and I had to pick up Oliver and run towards the parking lot? Did that happen or I imagined that?
Oh boy.
That, in my mind, raises a lot of questions. Is Kalani just overreacting? Is she maybe exaggerating the threat or the seriousness of the situation? Or is Asuelu actually a bad father? Are the boys' lives really at risk when he's looking after them? It's very difficult, almost impossible for us to know the answer to that question, but if she truly does believe that he's not a fit father, then does she actually have any option but to leave him? Now, it's important to point out that for his part, Asuelu just doesn't agree with Kalani's version of events for that particular incident. And true to form, as is typical for these two, instead of communicating and talking about this incredibly serious issue, Asuelu gets up and walks off, leaving Kalani to say,
Is there a big deal of me?
Yes, it's a big deal, a toddler being in a parking lot.
I think I'm gonna done with this talk because I'm done with you talking about.
Yeah, because you can't talk about problems, and this is why we fight, and this is why it's not gonna work.
what are your thoughts? Let's continue this conversation down in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, you might also like some of the other videos that are on screen now. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.